December 8th, and the day starts with camera mounting. Well, no, it's not much camera mounting, but boxes like these are power boxes, have been put throughout the lab, and we've been slowly having the electricians wire them up and things like that. So now we have a new one, in the East Wing, which is the high voltage location. And so now I've got to get in there and get it wired and modify one of these boxes to add this guy in, which is kind of our little addition to these boxes, so that we bring all the camera stuff together to one thing, and then we shoot it down, consolidated, to save wires and save time and, be more geeky, I guess. Anyway, so I got to get one of these. I got to get my box, modify it for the mounting, get it back on the wall. Then I can actually run cable. We'll see how the rest of this goes. So now we're up in high voltage and trying to get this on the wall. So it's been modified. I modified the power system. It now has its little block in it, which is just a couple of spacers off the back. So what's going to happen is all the camera stuff comes in, gets a nice little loop around the outside, and then splits down, and then picks up power, and then the video feeds get added into one of these blocks, typically starting at the top, coming down. It's going to be a little odd in this one because we have some control lines. The Pelco and the Panasonic on the exterior corners, there and there, have PTZ controls to them. So they have actual control lines, which makes things a little more difficult because now I have to figure out what I want to do there. And I think really what I'll end up doing is the same trick with the video, 4 videos per one starting from the top, but the bottom one will be the control lines coming up. So, because we're most definitely going to have more video than control, so we'll just boop, 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 and we'll just have probably more than enough capacity using maybe these 2 for control and them. I mean, you're talking 16, 16 cameras and 8 lines of control lines, which I think you only need, at this point, we only need 7, so we could do that with 1 Ethernet cable. So we'll keep working on that though. We'll see how it goes the rest of the day. It's time to put this thing on the wall. For the kids at home, I'm afraid of heights. Quite possibly one of the scariest things I do. Don't know why. Anyways, now the camera is up, now the camera power supply and, our little sorting box is mounted. Now I have to take these wonderful cables here, which each one of these is a camera. I don't remember which one's which, but each one of these goes into that box there, and then we're going to have to feed a cable out, and just like this white one, now we lose all our light, but trust me, there's something there. So that goes all the way up into the knock. So we'll have to run, there's 4 cameras currently, and we'd like to put in some extras for high voltage, of course, for Tesla coils and whatnot. So There's plenty of expansion, but if I run, 2 cables, that'll be enough for 8 cameras. And that would be significant enough to do this rooms, but we got control lines, 3 wires actually. That'll be fun. Oh, somebody put the camera up for me. All right, up here on the ladder. Well, we got to start by removing this cap here so we can actually get into the box and get the wires in. Except maybe my ladder is now in the way. I don't know, can I push it from the outside? I don't know. I can only generate so much force up here on a laptop, on a ladder, especially with only one hand. So I'm going to turn the camera off and see if I can get that out and start getting the cables in the box. Alright, with the cap finally removed from here, where are we at? I now got the wire's basic shape in. It comes in and it's got a little bit of a service loop, and then it's got this extent. Now I can't quite remember how I wired this whole thing up, but like good cooking shows, they've done one before. So let's go take a look at that one and kind of refresh our memory and come back and do this one. So we gotta be kind of quiet. But here's our, we're over in the AV block. I can't open it. There's no screw in it. So down the AV block, we got our box. We can see inside here. Then all of our cables come in. They come down and loop around, and then they come back around, and that's where we strip them here, give them the power they need, and then their green wires come down here, up, and into these blocks. Now, hey, I guess a good note to take is I went bottom up instead of top down. So I'll do the same thing in my other one, just to try and keep it consistent. Okay, I'm gonna leave this open so if I need to reference it later. And I'm going to get off this ladder because my feet are killing me. This tiny, look at the tiny little, killing my feet. Worst ladder on earth. Okay, maybe that's a lie, but the angle, everything about this is just painful on my feet, totally. But anyways, anywho, the power is now hooked up in the box. I quickly knocked out the 3 plus the additional power cable for the Pelco, and I connected up the video feeds to the Cat 5 block. Now on the ground, I'm going to give my ankles a rest, and I'm going to see if I'm going to either find, which is probably a joke, but I'm going to probably build a debug cable so I can make sure all the video feeds work, before I then run all the cable down to here. Who knew punching wire would take so long? It's been like a couple hours. So after a little break, some lunch, and a brand new ladder, I'm now ready to finish the wiring. So the last things that are left to do up there, the lights are on, is to finish up the wiring for the controls. Now we'll come up here and do a quick kind of last overview. Come up here and you can kind of see we got a good collection of these wires coming out. Some of these are unnecessary, like for instance this light blue one that's in here is just a standard camera and has only video on it, so it doesn't need anything else. So we can kind of cut the rat's nest down a bit. But the dark blue one and the white one, which it ends right there, both have control lines on them. So the oranges and the blues have been dedicated to communication. On the white one, which is the Pelco, it's a 422 connection, requiring both twisted pairs to actually pull it off. The Panasonic is the RS-232 connection, which only requires 3 wires. We can argue on and on about that if you really want to, but really you can pull it off with 3 wires. So I know, I used the same trick. The blue and the orange there are also the communication wires, but they should be easier to work with, and really one of them is just a redundant ground. So I'm going to wire those up to our block, which is hiding down here. So we've got video on port 1. You can see port 1 there. On port 1, and so I'm going to run all the grays, the oranges and blue are going to come up here to port 6 and be on this port right here. So when I do the next run, I'm going to pull 8 video worth of cable, and I'm also going to pull 1 full for communication. Being we don't have any more PTZ on the side of the building, I think I'm pretty safe with that, but if we need to upgrade it in the future, we can. So I finished the wiring, and I got this nifty little headlamp on. So here's what's going on. Port 6 on the terminal block, so on port 6, brown and green are these 2 right here, right? Yep. And they go up to blue over here. And the other 2, being orange and blue, run to the white one up here. Now the white one is the Pelco on the north wall, so the other side of this wall, and the blue one is the Panasonic on that far corner. So now I'm just going to mount this guy right here, do a little wire management, and I'm going to call it done. And then we start testing, make sure everything's still connected right. So I got one last thing I want to do is at least get the cable pulled tonight, but that box, that box is now hooked up, and I got a test cable that comes down, and the 3 cameras that are currently hooked to it are up and have an image. So as far as I'm concerned for right now, that's good enough. So I want to pull 3 cables from the NOC to here, or to that box really, and then I'm going to call that a night for tonight, because really that's actually a lot to get done. So I'm going to get on to it. Well, it's almost 7 o'clock, and I'm done with the wiring phase. Everything's hooked up. You really can't see it very well, but you've got orange coming out, and that's the controls for the cameras. Light blue first, then blue. So cameras 1 through 4 on light blue, and 5 through 8 on dark blue are going that way. So that's done. It needs a door, which is, I think, down in robotics or somewhere. But right now I just want off a ladder so bad I don't really care about the door. So I can wrap that up a little later. But power works. Turn the power on, a couple LEDs come on, lights are good, all the cameras are online, and we've got plenty of room for expanding. Awesome.